Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That basically works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, from the world of PSL, Lahore Qalandars will face Multan Sultans today, while Islamabad United beat Peshawar Zalmi by 15 runs, and Karachi Kings heaved a sigh of relief as they edged past Lahore Qalandars by a slender margin of 7 runs on Thursday. And yes, from the world of US Open, talking about golf, John Ram, Koepka and Rory McIlroy in contention after delay in the first day of Torrey Pines. And yes, from the world of tennis, 3 times Grand Slam champion Andy Murray beaten by Matteo Berrettini in Kinch Championship at Queen's Club. And yes, from the world of football, Netherlands beat Austria 2-0 to qualify for round 16 in Euro 2020. And yes, those were the headlines, and what an interesting take in terms of what truly happened in the world of PSL. And to discuss the most electrifying match that we got to see was definitely Islamabad United versus Peshawar Zalmi, and how Islamabad United broke all the records. Not to forget, Peshawar Zalmi put in their level best. To discuss more in-depth analysis of the 2 matches that took place, we have with us Shirar Malik, who is a cricket analyst with us. Shirar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, Shirar, first things first. What a performance.
Exactly. This is what we all wanted. And this is what PSL is for. And the crowd, it is sad there is no crowd in these matches. Otherwise, there should have been electric atmosphere in the ground as well. But we all enjoyed the match, and all hats off to Peshawar as well, giving it a brilliant chase. But sadly, they couldn't pull it off. But a wonderful match, and hope we can see such matches ahead as well.
Right. Anyways, but we'd still want to focus more on the fact that, if we look at the entire performance, we started off, the match itself started off very electrifyingly. Usman Khwaja, I think, did a phenomenal job as a captain, as well as, he proved his worth as the one out there.
Yes, exactly. Usman Khwaja has played a brilliant innings, and he gave a very good start. Initially, he wasn't very electrifying in the batting, but afterwards, when Asif Ali got out and there needed to be scored a little quickly, and he really pulled it off. He's scoring almost 15-16 runs in the last over and getting his century. It is brilliant for him as well. Maybe we can see his comeback in his international team as well.
Right, and even if looking at obviously the amount of 6s and the amount of 4s and the amount of boundaries in the last at least 6-7 overs, it was phenomenal. It was totally off the charts, and even at what time the prediction was that they'll maximum come up to like 230, 232. But they ended up breaking the previous record, So I think this is surely a big round of applause for Islamabad United.
Exactly, it is. They scored around 120-30 runs in last 8 overs. Wow. And Peshawar also got around 100 runs in last 8 overs. So it is a great achievement. And I think the boundary was a little short on the leg side, but no credit taken away from the players. They all played really well. And we've seen Islamabad coming up really well as a unit. And main difference was Hassan Ali in the bowling. I guess he gave only 30 runs away, right. And that was the difference. I don't know why Shoaib Malik wasn't bowled another over or another couple of overs, because he bowled really good 2 overs.
Right.
So let's
but
see.
If we talk about obviously the bowling side, not to forget, guys, the temperature there is really, really hot. I mean, like in terms of us watching it, it's different because we'd probably be watching it at our homes or maybe at some restaurants or any place that is feasible for us. But the point is, the temperature is really hot. Hassan Ali has been going through these temperature issues not only on this match but even the previous ones, if you remember.
Yes, exactly. The temperature is very high, and all the credit goes to all the players that we've been talking about previously. Temperature above 40-45 degrees centigrade and playing this sun is out, and it's very tough.
I think humid level in terms of, obviously Sheikh said, Abu Dhabi is surely one of the hot places, and when it comes to June and July like it is now, I think it's one of the most crucial times because there are no games usually played there.
Exactly, it is. It is almost unplayable conditions, we can say, but all the credit goes to the players, and especially the players of like New Zealand players and Australian players.
Yes.
Australian players still are a little
prone to this
condition, but like Monroe was playing in, and some other players. Of course, the credit goes to all the players.
True that. And one more thing, obviously, in terms of not only Islamabad United's performance, I still remember me having a discussion with you while the match was on yesterday and talking about that, I'd rather want to see an electrifying match, a real war from Peshawar Zalmi.
Yes, so you really wanted them to chase us off.
Yes, because it reminded me of, as I was telling you, it reminded me of Australia versus South Africa. The 434, when Australia did this, and it turned out to be the biggest chase in the history of cricket. So I thought, you never know. And I think they were pretty much there by the way.
They were pretty much there. If Zazai could have given them a good start, because we all know how explosive he is, maybe there was a chance for Peshawar all in the game. Then maybe Imamul Haq couldn't score freely. We know that he's not a player who can just come in and score that freely. Maybe they could have promoted somebody else in that position, like Islamabad promoted Asif Ali. We all didn't know Asif Ali
was a
play one
surprise.
down. Yes, it was a surprise for us, and you've seen what innings he has played for them.
Absolutely, and in terms of coming up and the strike rate and coming up and just hitting those sixes and the fours and the boundaries, I think it turned out to be definitely crucially beneficial for Islamabad.
Exactly, it has been, and Asif Ali is venting it out all the criticism he's getting. He's venting it out in the PSL right now, and he's playing really well. Hope he continues this form in the international level, which we've not seen so far.
We would love to see.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, it's not only him. If we talk about Haider Ali, we also want to see Haider Ali perform. But anyways, talking about obviously Peshawar Zalmi's side, when Kamran Akmal was there, he literally took charge. And one could truly see the dedication that he had to perform. I mean, scoring 53 of 32 balls.
Yes, exactly. That's the good sign for Peshawar's side. He's back in form, and after him, Shoaib Malik played a brilliant innings, and we have to see how if he can come back in the side as well or not. And then Rutherford really made a difference, scoring I think 30 runs in 1 over of the new spinner. So it really made a difference, and they could have come back in the match really well, but sadly they couldn't chase it off.
Well, talking about the bowling side as well, I would want to talk a bit more. Obviously, Akif Javed managed to do 3 for 43. Obviously, getting more runs because I think it was a high-end
Yes,
game.
it was, but Akif is really improved. I've seen him play before as well, but now I've seen him really concentrating on his line and length more than going all out for the pace. Previously, we used to see he's going all out for pace, and now he's more into line and length thing.
Right. Talking about the other match, obviously, that took place, obviously, Lahore Qalandars will definitely be facing today Multan Sultans, which is surely going to be interesting. But I would also want to talk about Lahore Qalandar versus Karachi Kings. Obviously, that was also one of the interesting matches that took place yesterday.
Yes, it was. There were high hopes from Lahore Qalandars, I would say, but they've not been able to pull it off. Their middle order was very slow, I guess, and they've paid it off. And the most alarming thing I would say is that our international players who are in our international side, like Babar Azam, Mohammad Hafiz, and we've seen a few others who are struggling.
Right.
Like there were talks about Mohammad Amir getting back in the side. He's bowled well, but he's not got any wickets, and he's been a little expensive as well.
Right.
And that is the most alarming sign for us, because all the international players, they're struggling right now in PSL.
Right. And talking about the struggling part, of course, Babar Azam, I remember he got out on the first ball, if you remember that. But yet again, when it comes to his class, I mean, in the last match yesterday, he scored 54 of 44 balls.
Yes, he did, but I think he's a tad slow in his innings. I'm not sure why can't he just go out and innovate and score a little more freely, because when he's playing other players on the other side, they get on pressure as well, and they're getting out because of maybe Babar Azam. We have to see Babar has to innovate himself, and I think he has to improve his strike rate very much.
Yeah, I think so. But when it comes to T20s, of course, they're always about strike rate, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
because
exactly.
you need to be out there. I think that's probably one thing that, Peshawar Zalmi tried yesterday at the start. But even though they got the first man out on the first ball of the game, so that obviously added a lot of pressure. But for someone like Babar Azam and his experience, I think he should probably work more on the strike rate side.
Yes, I think we've been talking about it previously as well. He's a masterclass. He's the best player we have in our side. But with a player like Rizwan, we've seen how he's innovated his game. We never expected him to come out and play like this in T20s.
Right.
But now he's the mainstay of our team. So Babar is, of course, a better player than all we have, and he can innovate his style, and he can change his style. And for T20s, it is a necessity these days.
Right. And talking about obviously Lahore Qalandar facing Multan Sultan today, How do you see it developing? And obviously Lahore Qalandars are more like South Africans who actually get choked at the middle of the game. So that is one of the drawbacks, unfortunately, that they're going through.
Exactly. They're having big names in their team. Rashid is bowling really well. Mohammad Hafiz is in the middle order. I don't know why he's struggling because yesterday he could have pulled off a good innings. The match was there. So we have to see how they pull up, but I know Multan Sultans are playing really well, and they're playing as a unit, and it will be really a good match.
I think I'm looking forward, and I think I'd definitely opt for Multan Sultan because obviously in terms of their performance so far, I think they're spot on, and they're also getting there where they're supposed to be. And if you notice that the table back then in Pakistan, when these matches were happening back in March, up to now, it's like a turn of tables.
Exactly, it is. Now Multan and Islamabad are becoming favorites, whereas it was Lahore and Karachi previously. And I would talk about Shoaib Maqsood right here, and in the middle I think he's been playing wonderful innings. Maybe it's a chance he's knocking at the door now, and maybe he can get a chance soon because we've seen players like Khushdil Shah, Iftikhar, Asif Ali, Haider Ali, they're not performing in the international level. Maybe it's time for Shoaib Maqsood as well. One little chance and maybe things can change for us.
Well, I hope things change. Thank you very much, Shahryar, for being a part of the show and discussing the world of PSL. Yes, this was Shahryar discussing the analysis in terms of the PSL. Not to forget, Lahore Qalandars will be facing Multan Sultans. Don't forget to watch it. I think it's going to be an electrifying match too. Anyways, we'll take a quick break, and once we get back from the break, we'll discuss more world of sports. See you guys after the break. And welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of PSL. What an interesting take. That was obviously with Shahryar. But not to forget that we definitely talk about sports from all across the globe. So we surely be talking about, obviously, the US Open that's currently underway. And to discuss the in-depth analysis, we have Art with us. Art, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be with you. Greetings from the US Open round 2.
Yes. So, Art, it has been tricky with regards to obviously when it comes to the weather to begin with. It's the 121st US Open, and the big names are really finding it very hard to sustain and get to the point where they're supposed to.
Yes, I think the first round we had a fog delay, an hour and a half fog delay. So actually, we had some people finishing round 1 this morning. But the names you would expect to be up there. Brooks Koepka, two-time U.S. Open champion, Xander Schauffele, San Diego native, Bryson DeChambeau is close by. So I think that the names that you would expect to be up here are not in the lead right now, but they're very close. And, I think the question I had coming in is, how was Brooks Koepka's knee be? His knee has been injured. It's not 100%. But certainly he has performed adequately, and he is right where he needs to be, just a couple of shots off the lead going to the weekend.
Right. In terms of obviously the leaderboard, if you look at Oosthuizen is one of the main guys who are like at the lead. Obviously Henley is also with him. How do you see this further developing for them and the rest of the leaderboard to get up there and show their worth?
Well, I think that what you see is what you see from a typical U.S. Open. The fact that the scores are not very low, a 4 under par leads after the round 1, and compare that to a regular tour event, it's very low. I mean, very high. Usually it's a lot lower than this. And so I think what this shows you is that it's going to be tough conditions. The conditions are only going to get harder from here. They're not going to get easier. They're going to get harder. So,
right. So, if the things get harder, that means that all those at the back end or the lower end of leaderboard would surely find it very hard to get to the point where they're supposed to.
Well, I think you see, as the saying goes, I think you're going to see the cream rising to the top. I think you'll see the top players emerging, and that's why right now Brooks Koepka is 2 shots out of the lead. But really, in his mind, he's in the lead, because the people in front of him, like as you mentioned, Russell Henley and Rafael Bale, in his mind, those are people he can easily surmount. So I think the good players, the top players, certainly are where they want to be. I think we had some surprises. Francisco Molinari was a surprise. I think a lot of people remember him when he won the U.S. Amateur. He's a native of Italy, but actually he just moved here to Southern California. So now Francisco Molinari lives here, plays this course on multiple occasions. So that was a surprise. But the fact that now he is a hometown player, shall we say, I think that gives him more impetus going into the weekend.
Right. And talking about one of the main names, if I want to talk about, I would want to talk about McIlroy. He obviously has been struggling for a while by now, and up till now, he is not there up to the mark.
Yeah, interesting about McIlroy. No one doesn't think he's a great player, but it's been 8 years since he's won a major championship. 8. That's really hard to believe.
Right.
So, putted well. I had a long time ago, I had a golf writer tell me, they said Rory's best is better than anybody else's best.
Right.
You just don't know when you're going to see Rory's best. And yesterday, when him making putts the way he did, I think it's close. So that's another name certainly to keep an eye on for the weekend.
Right. Let's hope he manages to get up somewhere because, yes, since 2014, he has not been there where he's supposed to. And talking about this, I was so looking forward for Mickelson making some major marks at the very start of the game. So what's up at his performance?
Yeah, disappointing for Phil, I think. Obviously comes in with a lot of momentum after winning the PGA at Kiawah Island. And it just didn't have it yesterday, got in some of the rough. This is his hometown, obviously. Grew up here in San Diego, played here a lot, but hasn't had a real good history with this course. At one time, he was slated to be the renovation architect here, and that didn't happen. He got knocked out at the last minute. So hasn't had a good history here. Disappointing for Phil, but I think Phil's mindset will be, let me make the cut, let me get to the weekend. The cut is going to be very high. I think Phil, with another 72, even or something like that, he'll be here for the weekend. When we get to the weekend, let me figure it out from there. So Phil's not out of the competition, but certainly a disappointing first round for Phil.
Right. But in terms of any player who wants to go further now, as you mentioned earlier, that with time, the course is going to get more and more difficult.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you see for the United States Golf Association, who sets up this tournament, they don't want a runaway winner and they don't want a low par winner. They want someone that is going to be single digits. So I believe single digits under par will win this. Right now, the leader is 4. I would think on Sunday afternoon when we complete this tournament, the winner will be around 9 to 10 under par. I don't think you're going to see real low scores, and that's why I think a lot of people have a chance. Guys who are not in the lead now, but guys who are close to the lead. As you mentioned, Rory, Brooks Koepka, Phil is certainly lurking around there. Very interesting to see what happens with Rory. Dustin Johnson is another player, world number 1, but he's a few shots back. So shaping up to be a very interesting leaderboard with a lot of top players having a chance.
Right. One more name that I would want to surely talk about. What is Hideki Matsuyama's place right now, and do you see him making any difference in terms of his performance?
Yeah, good point by you. Hideki played, in a star group yesterday, made some really nice putts. And I think people forget that the momentum he had by winning the Masters this year, certainly great. The first Asian ever to win the Masters golf tournament, and only the second ever to win a major golf championship. So Hideki is there, and again, it's all about getting ready for the weekend. I think Koepka has proved that you don't have to play good every week. You only have to play good in the majors. Hideki certainly is right where he needs to be. Rory, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson. I think what you're going to see is really a battle. I don't think you'll see an unknown player. I'd be willing to speculate, be willing to wager that an unknown player will not win this week. It'll be one of the top players, and it's just a matter of who surges to the top for the weekend.
Well, that's a very heavy assessment from your end in terms of, ensuring that, someone from the top 5 or even the top 10 in the world will probably take it. But the point is, we've seen so many surprises in terms of the world of golf lately. So what if a surprise is lined up for us?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think that Francisco Molinari would certainly be a surprise to people. Again, he won the U.S. amateur golf tournament. His brother is also playing in the field this week and is there. But the fact that he has moved to Los Angeles, he has left Europe, Italy, where he was, and lives here full time and plays this golf course on a full time basis. I came as a surprise to me. I'll admit, I didn't realize he lived here now. So the fact that he now lives here and plays here a lot, I think he could surprise some people. And, obviously he has some form because he's won before in the past. So the fact that he could win here really on his new hometown would be a surprise, but maybe not a surprise to Francisco.
Right. And talking about surprises, how do you foresee the weather? Because obviously that is one thing that also came out a surprise.
Yeah, I think we had some fog. I think they call it out here the marine layer. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Where I grew up, we just called that fog. And so they delayed about 90 minutes of the tournament yesterday. Doesn't look like we've got any fog today. It looks like we'll be able to finish up fine. But the weather should be fine. Maybe the wind will blow a little bit more, but this area, this climate is pretty much perfect most of the year. So I think that you're going to see good weather, maybe a little bit more wind. I don't think you're going to see many more delays. And, it's just a matter of the golf course. It's going to get, again, it will get harder. Pin placements will get tougher. And I think you'll see really an interesting weekend.
Well, we're surely looking forward for an interesting weekend, Art. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show and discussing the world of golf with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And also, I might mention that I'm doing a trip out here. If you've seen the U.S. Open on TV, if you want to come out here and play this tournament, play this golf course in July, I'm offering that as a trip. And so the website is www.theartofgolf.com, theartofgolf.com. All the details. Come play here and come watch the tournament this weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you for your invitation. That's very kind of you. We'll surely look into it. Once again, thank you for being a part of the show and discussing the world of golf with us. Great.
Happy to do it. You have a good show.
Thank you. So that was, and obviously, what an interesting individual when it comes to his experience of golf. And yes, he has so much of wisdom that he talks about in terms of the in-depth analysis of what truly is happening in the world of golf and the US Open. But anyways, this was probably much that we have for now in terms of golf. Now I will quickly jump over to the world of tennis. Yes, talking about tennis, Andy Murray, who's been suffering, who's been struggling with his groin pain for a while, who's been struggling to practice as much as he can. He got beaten by Berrettini in the championship at the Queen's Club. Yes, he finally had to go through this and he lost 6-3, 6-3. To be very honest, he still was struggling so much, but until and unless, at least he can say that he worked hard to be where he wants to be. Not only that, top seed Berrettini will now face British number 1 Dan Evans, and Murray has, he also came across this by winning over Benoit Paire on Tuesday. But anyways, I think he's out for now, but in the long run, he is still trying to cope up with his injuries that he had, and he's trying to make sure that in the long run, he is back, because he says that it's for the love of tennis that he has. Anyways, this was from the world of tennis. I'll quickly jump over to the updates in terms of football. Yes, talking about football, we're talking about Euro 2020. Netherlands beat Austria 2-0 to qualify for the round 16 in 2020. And Depay and Dumfries on target as Orange cruise into the Euro 2020's last 16. And Memphis Depay's early penalty gave the hosts a lead. And not to forget that Austria must beat Ukraine on Monday to also qualify. Well, this was pretty much it from the world of sports. If you guys want to reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. Till then, take good of yourself and have a good weekend, and bye-bye.